Welcome to Mammoth Interactive's Introduction to GameMaker. In this course, we're going to learn how to download GameMaker Studio and also learn the most basic concepts of this software and get to learn everything we need to make the most simple and basic games and then evolve to something more complex to nicer games. So GameMaker is maintained by Yo-Yo Games. So to download this software, you just need to go to yoyogames.com and you're going to see this page here where you're going to see some news, some showcases, and maybe might be interesting to read the tech blog as well, so you can get some ideas for your games. And to download this software, you just need to come here and click on Get GameMaker, okay? And you're going to be taken to a new screen. Now, there are three different licenses for GameMaker right now. Okay, the most basic license are the free one. There is the Studio Professional, and there's also the Studio Master Collection. You don't need to pay for GameMaker to learn how to use it and make basic games and make very simple distribution. So you can just click here on free download and you're going to get the whole GameMaker Studio, and you can use coding, you can make sprites, you can make animations. So there are tons of great stuff here. You can make full games by using the free license. Now, if you're going to need some more advanced features like exporting for Android and iOS, or maybe testing on mobile devices and get to debug the code, you should take a look on these other two licenses here to see what they offer. But in general, the free download here should be just fine for you. So just click here on free download. Let's wait for the next page to open. And now this is important. For GameMaker to work, you not only need to download the GameMaker Studio, but you also need to add a license to your account. So if you don't have an account at this moment, Yo-Yo Games should prompt you to log in or to create a new account. So you just create a new account, okay? You perform the login, and then you should be in this screen here where it says My GameMaker Licenses. And you're going to take a look on the first line here where it says add licenses, and there you go. There's enter a GameMaker Studio license key to add it to your account. If you already have a key, you can enter it here. But if you don't, there should be an option here where it says free license. Okay, you just have to click on free license and that is going to be activated for you. After this is complete, you can just click here on download GameMaker Studio and the software is going to be downloaded. Okay, and there is one thing that you have to pay attention here. There are some system requirements for GameMaker Studio to work. You click here on view requirements and you're going to see that GameMaker Studio works on Windows XP or above. There are no versions for Mac OS or Linux right now, but probably Mac OS is going to be soon. What you see here where it says games on Windows, game on Mac OS, games on Ubuntu, these things, they are the exported versions of your game. So when you make a game, you can distribute it on several platforms. You can distribute it on Windows, Mac, Ubuntu, can make HTML5 games, Android, iOS. So there are lots of platforms here, Windows 8. The main mobile platforms are all here. You can make games for the web or desktop distributions if you want. So the licenses of GameMaker cover lots of different platforms. If you want to distribute on them, you might want to see the professional or the master collection versions. Okay, and after you're done with this, you just have to open the installer and properly install GameMaker Studio. And after you open the software, you should be prompted to log in, and this is where you need to make sure you have your free license activated. That should be in this screen here. So once it is activated, you can log in and then you can proceed on starting a project and learning how GameMaker works. We're going to check this out in the following video. Installed and log into GameMaker Studio, you should see this screen here where you have several different tabs to work with. You have open, new, import, release notes, demos, tutorials, and the one that we're going to look at right now is new because we're going to create a new project. Every game that you make in GameMaker needs to be in a separate project. Okay, so if you were to make 5 different games, then each of them would be in a separate project, in a separate folder. So first of all, we need to come here and define the project directory. Okay, it is important for you to make a folder to store your projects. If you use documents, or maybe if you use desktop, this would work fine. Okay, there's no problem with this, but it's not a good idea to mix your project files with other things like images and maybe text files, documents. It is important to start organized, to start right. So make a projects folder or a workspaces folder. This would work just as fine. And as for a project name, let's name this introduction. Okay, you can type the name of the project that you want here. After that, we just have to click create and wait for GameMaker to open its main interface. So if you're not used to making games or coding, there should be lots of things to look at here, but it is actually pretty easy to understand. Here at the top, we have a toolbar with some, of course, tools available for us. We can save the game, we can open another game, we can run it, we can debug it and start a web server, we can create sprites, sounds, backgrounds. There are lots of things here, but in general, you just have to care about saving the game and run the game, okay, at least in this toolbar. It is important to keep saving just to make sure that you don't lose all the work that you do, and run the game, of course, to test it, to see how it is going to look like. Here at the end of the toolbar, you can also set the target build that you're going to make. So if you're to make a build for HTML5 or Android, you can just click on these things so the proper adjustments are made to the GameMaker Studio software, and you can test on these platforms. Now, the most important thing that we have to see in GameMaker is this hierarchy you see here at the left of the screen. This is the hierarchy tree of GameMaker. So you have separate game entities here. You have lots of different things, different objects that you can use to make your games. So you have sprites, sounds, backgrounds, paths, and several other elements. It depends on what you are doing. You don't need to use all of these folders, all of these entities here. In general, you just need 3. But if you need to make something else, if you need to make something a little more complex, you can just go to these folders and see what they are about. So let's take a look at 3 things. These are the most important ones. We are always going to work with sprites. Okay, we're always going to work with objects. And finally, we are also going to work with rooms. These are the 3 most important ones, and we're going to see one by one, nice and easy, okay? So what are sprites? First of all, let's right click on the sprites folder and select create sprite here, okay, and can maximize this window. Sprites are visual representations of whatever you want, okay? You can think of sprites as images. It is a collection of pixels of different colors that compose an image. It could be a car, it could be a girl, it could be a tree, for example. There are several different things that you can make, and that these things are going to appear as sprites. And sprites in GameMaker can be made by loading images in your computer. So you have a nice image of a monster or maybe a spaceship. You can load it right into GameMaker. You just click here on load sprite, or you can use the built-in editor for GameMaker. There is a very simple image editing software that resembles Paint a lot. You have very basic tools, and that should be good for GameMaker because you can work on making some pixelated art, so it looks nice as well. And you can draw your own sprites when you click here on Edit Sprite. Okay, so let's go ahead and start by doing this. Let's click on Edit Sprite, and we're going to see a new window here, and you're going to click on Create a New Sprite, and you're going to see that you have a window that says Create a New Sprite. So it says Width and Height. What are these 2 measures? They are, of course, the width and height of the sprite, but measured in pixels. These are not centimeters or inches, these are pixels, which is the main unit that we use on everything related to computer visuals. Everything that is going to appear on a screen has a pixel measure, okay? And the pixel is the little square that you can see in your screen if you look very close, okay? It's the little colorful blocks that compose whatever you're seeing right now, okay? It composes the video you're seeing right now. So you normally set the size of the sprite here, and we stick with 32 by 32. So this is a squared sprite. Okay, this is the full size of whatever sprite you can make in GameMaker. So when you click OK, we're going to see one image here. It says image 0. And you notice that there is a gray checkerboard here, but this image is not a gray checkerboard. If you put it in the game, you're not going to see two light gray and two dark gray squares. This is just some sort of representation that is telling you that this image is transparent. Okay, and this is universal. Lots of different software use these to tell that the image is transparent. In the past it was a pink color, but right now this is the one that it is used the most. Okay, and if you were to make an animation, you would add different frames here, so these frames are animated one after the other. But to make a still image, you can just have one here. So let's double click it and let's give it a little zoom, so you can click here on this magnifying glass, so you can to see it like this, and we can draw a sprite here. We have several tools available for us. So we have a little pencil, we can use an eraser, we can draw lines, polygons, rectangles, we can draw ellipses like a circle, for example, and round a rectangle. So you have the very basic tools here. We have a paint bucket, you can select an area of the image, for example. So this is very simple, but it works very well for making simple things. What you can do when you're making games is you make a very simple sprite at first, and later you change it for another image. Okay, so you are able to prototype and make a minimum version of your game and then improve it later. So to start, let's draw a little smiley face. Let's click here on draw an ellipse, and here we have a color picker at the right of the screen. We can choose the left and the right color. The left one, if you are drawing a line, is going to be the color of the line. But if you're drawing a polygon, like a free polygon or a rectangle, the left color is going to be the stroke. It's going to be the outline of the polygon, and the right one is going to be the fill. So I want to draw a smiley face that contains a white stroke, a white outline, and a yellow fill. So I have to left click on the white color and right click on the yellow color, so it looks like this. We need to make sure we have the ellipse tool selected. We're going to click here from the top left of the image and drag it to the other side, okay, to the other corner of the image. So it looks like this. Okay, and to draw the eyes and a mouth, for example, we can just grab the pencil tool. Let's select the black color as the left one, and we can just come here and draw something like this. And pardon me for my terrible drawing skills, I'm just a programmer. So okay, looks like this, and a little smiley face. We can try it like this. Okay, let's fill the eyes here. It's a bit creepy, but should work fine. Okay, you can just maybe adjust the eyes like this by selecting the yellow color and drawing it again. And the mouth I didn't like very much. Let me try again. I'm going to grab these. Let me try making a smaller smile. Okay, this should work fine. Paint. Okay, so we have our little smile face here. And to save this image, let's click here on close. And to make a simple animation, we can make a very simple rotation of that smiley. So you can select the first smile, hit Ctrl C and Ctrl V to make a copy, and let's open it and let's see what I can do to rotate. Okay, we're going to click on transform. Let's click on rotate and let's choose 90 degrees. Okay, notice that where you rotate the image, you see the original one, which is the smiley face looking like this, and the new one is the smiley face looking like that. Okay, so it rotated clockwise. You can hit OK and save. So we have the first one looking like this, the second one looking like that. Let's do that again until the smile does a full turn. Okay, let's double click here, transform, and then rotate 90 degrees. Okay, so it's upside down now. And one final copy of this, transform, rotate 90 degrees. Okay, so it looks like this, and okay. So what we have here is a very basic animation. We have the smiley basically rolling in the level. So if we click show preview here, we're going to see the smiley rotating pretty quickly, but we can reduce this speed later. Okay, we have a field here where we can set the speed, so we can use 10 for example, so it looks like this, or maybe 5. Okay, we can change this later. Okay, it's just to show you how animations work. So let's click on OK here to save. And there is one final thing that we have to do here. It's setting the name of the sprite. Okay, whenever entity you make in GameMaker needs to have a name, and that name needs to follow a certain pattern. So we could come here and type just player, for example, or maybe smiley. But it is important for you to start with an abbreviation of whatever you're making. So if you're making a sprite, you can start with SPR, then underscore, and the name of the thing that you're making, which is the smiley. Okay, this helps you a lot if you are making code or if you're making several entities that have the same name. Okay, this is very important. So we have here SPR underscore smiley, and another thing here is whatever images you make in a computer are drawn from the top left. So for example, imagine this is a picture here of you and your friends, for example. Okay, so you guys are here and you're smiling, you're happy, like that. So images, they are drawn from the top left. So pixel by pixel, unit by unit of your image is going to be drawn to the computer screen like this. So in general, the anchor of the image is here at the top left, and this is used for rotating the image. Okay, so if you don't change the anchor, if you don't move the anchor to the center, this would look a bit weird, okay, if you were to rotate the image. So GameMaker already has a button for you to change this, which is this one, center. You're going to put the origin of the image in the center of it. So if we click center, you're going to see that the origin changed to 16 by 16, which is half of the size of the image, which is 32 by 32. And if you take a look at the image preview here, there's a cross in the middle of the smile, just to say that it is centered. Okay, now we can hit OK, and our sprite is saved. Now, sprites by themselves, they are not able to be added to the game. Okay, they're just the image. So the sprites, they can't follow physics, they can't receive input, they can't collide, they can't be instantiated. The things that do this are objects. We're going to take a look on this in the next video. As we learned in the last video, sprites by themselves can't be shown in the game. You need to make an object, so objects can have these sprites and then behave the way you want. So let's go here to the objects folder. We're going to right click and select create object, and we're going to have a new window with a different layout to look at. So the first thing you have to notice is there is a sprite panel here where it says no sprite, okay? And if you take a look on the preview of our object, it is just a white square because it has nothing assigned to it. So to assign a sprite, to select a sprite, we can click on this button here and select our SPR underscore smiley here. So our object now contains the smiley face there. So let's also come here and type obj underscore smiley, so we follow the pattern that I told you before. Okay, if you're making a sprite, you start with SPR, object obj, and fonts FNT, for example, and you keep doing this. So notice that objects contain two large panels here, which takes most of these object window here. So what are these things? The first panel here we have are the events, okay, and the second one are the actions. So what are these things? Well, how important they are? They're very important. If we didn't have these things, then making games would be impossible, or at least super difficult. Events are things that happen in time, are moments of time. So an event could be a race, or it could be a football match, a friend's party, a family meeting. So things that happen in time. At a certain moment in time, events happen. And when these events happen, you take actions. So if you are going to play on a football match, you need to prepare, you need to run, you need to stretch, you need to use a good pair of shoes, for example. So when events happen, actions need to be taken. And everything in computer programming, in game programming, is about events. You have to listen for events to happen, to then run some code or do something else. So it is very common in game making that events could be input, so you can click on the mouse buttons, for example, the left or the right mouse button. You could press keys, so the WASD keys or the arrow keys, the space bar, the enter or ESC or control. So you can listen to all of these events and make your objects move, for example. So one of the most common ones is if you press the right key, then you're going to make the smiley face move to the right. If you press the up key, then the smiley face is going to move up. You can even, for example, if I press the space key, I can make the smile grow, for example. So if it starts like this and I press the space key, I can turn it into a big smiley face, for example. And you can keep doing things like this for events and actions. We're going to see very soon how we do this. And here we have several different actions to use. You have movement actions. You can make the object teleport to some part of the screen. You can make paths. So for example, if you make a bird, you can make the bird follow that path in a loop. Okay, you can change sprite color, size. There are lots of things here, and we won't be able to cover these. We're going to look on a specific lesson just for taking a look on these actions and how to use them. But it is important to know that these exist, and you can make entire games by not writing a single line of code, just using events and actions. Okay, so now that we have an object, your first question might be, okay, how do I see that object? How do I run the game and add it to a screen? We're going to learn how to do this in the following video.